Hello everyone, I'm Aakash Bhasin from Market Xcel. We are a local full-service research company within India. We have been in business for about 12 years now. We kind of take all kind of approaches for data collection, and it's a boutique research firm. So before that, Jan, you want to pitch in?
Turn it off because my turn's later in the presentation. Yeah, I'm Jan from a company called Cluetec. We're a small software company, Germany-based. Actually, really a software company. We're doing individual software projects for pretty much the major industries in Germany. But we also have a product for the market research industry called MQuest. And I think we are one of the very few companies, Germany-based, shipping software to India. But I get to that in a bit, I guess. So Aakash is doing the first part.
So basically, since morning, we have been listening about, what approaches are good, and how mixed method can work. And basically, Mark talked about research on research. So this is a kind of research which we have done for opting a research methodology which we devised specifically for our research needs. So talking about India in particular, 1.2 billion people, about 69% of it lives in villages. So as Jasmeet from Ericsson pointed out, you have to reach everyone. But it's up to you that how you want to go about it, how you have to create your sample representative and stuff. Talking about diversity, 22 different languages being spoken, 28 states, 6 union territories, 1 national capital territory. So it's pretty huge from north to south and east to west. About 8,000 towns and 640,000 villages. So that gives you a brief picture of how scattered it is. Talking about the state of research, top 4-5 companies, yes, everyone is there. There are local research firms, local data collection firms like us. There are knowledge process outsourcing units who work with the clients globally. There are individual contractors and freelance interviewers who carry out the stuff. So looking at all the dynamics of the market, we thought that what are the approaches which can be taken to smoothen out data collection, to ensure that clients get value for money, get quality. When we were having the panel discussion, the service provider side talked about quality, shortening the time, saving the cost. So we basically thought of that how we can include mobile in our research approach. So there were 2 things which we looked at, whether we can give the mobile in hands of the respondent, or we don't do that. We keep it to ourselves and we go to the respondent ourselves. So when we talk about taking it in the hands of respondent, then the questions which have already come up, the representativeness problem. The Ericsson guy pointed out internet connectivity being an issue, smartphone penetration, possibly 4% of the mobile users have smartphones in India. So you can guess out. So though there has been growth, guy pointed out that there are 913 million mobile subscribers and about 44 million just have smartphones. So that's about 4%. 3G connectivity, high-speed connectivity is again a challenge. And why people or the clients will accept it when online methodology hasn't got any acceptance at their end. So we thought that the second point is going to be more important. We will keep mobile in our hands and we will go to the respondents. So we thought that who will do it for us? Because we have been in data collection for over 12 years, we thought that the best thing would be that we do it ourselves. how will it will be done? You know, there are issues of coverage, there are issues of resources. To cover a country like India, you need a big workforce. And then definitely, what technology to use. And the biggest question, why will clients accept it? Because they get advantages of quality, they get real-time reporting, and there are inherent benefits of cost and time saving and stuff. So we thought that we are going to go ahead with this approach. As I mentioned earlier, the typical challenges of doing fieldwork in India include dealing with 22 different languages possibly, large distances. It's pretty difficult to keep a tab that how teams are moving and what work is being done by one team and the other team. Representation, more areas needs to be covered when you are doing research in India. And then interviewer trainings, because as it was pointed out, about 85% to 90% of the fieldwork is still being done using the conventional methodology of face-to-face interviewing. So, taking another thought on the state of research, how the coverage happens. Global firms have wider coverage. Possibly, they are the ones who have their field offices, operations offices, which can, cover different places. Then what happens is that when clients from outside India come up, they go ahead and sublet to small regional players. It creates a multi-layer structuring of outsourcing, and then it results in fallout of information. So client gave a brief to the agency, and agency is again outsourcing it to some regional player, which will result in filling out of the information. So we basically worked on addressing these challenges, that how data quality and validation has to happen. Data collection activity has to comply with highest and professional standards. Then we were looking at the challenges in achieving these standards, how the teams have to be managed and data control has to happen, and what is the current state of infrastructure in India if we are using mobile, and the technology to be used for that. So talking about the first approach, what we did was that it is an inherent challenge to get interviewers to work for you anywhere across the globe, specifically in India. The interviewers are generally freelancers. They are not loyal. When I say they are not loyal, it doesn't mean that I question their loyalty. But generally what happens is that being a freelancer, I can work with different agencies. I can go ahead and choose to work for an agency which is paying me more, and not that seriously for one who's not paying that much. There are problems with reporting, guys don't turn up at the right times, and there are confidentiality issues. Agency A material, product material is going to agency B's office, or client A's material is being used by some other person. So what we thought of, what we did was that we put together a team of interviewers, which we called as Team Accelerate. We now have about 275 in-house interviewers. These resources came out of the MR industry, so they don't know they didn't knew what was market research. We trained them on a 4-week training module where we told them about the holistic approach of market research, both theoretically, and we gave them on-job training. Jan?
Thank you. I said we are a software company. We do a lot of automation projects too, besides our market research product. And this would have been very helpful in this case too, because obviously manual processes lead to errors, and we mixed up the versions of the presentation. Aakash did a pretty good job in covering it up. What we're showing here is not the most up-to-date version, so I'm pretty surprised. We might need the stick later. We have a video that we would like to show at the end, so maybe you need to help us. Yeah, as I said, my company is called Cluetec. We have a product in place that's being used to put surveys on tablets and smartphones. And that came in pretty handy when Aakash was looking for a solution to do exactly that last year. He found us on Google Play and got in touch with our company. And we started working operationally, I think, last fall at some point. So we've been doing business together for almost a year now, a little bit more than a year. And again, the major task, the project was to help Market Xcel move away from paper and pencil projects to technology-based surveys. We've been doing this for quite some time, but given everything that Aakash just explained, the diversity of the country, the sheer number of people to interview, and the big size of his team, 300 interviewers, and then Market Xcel is running several 100,000 interviews a year, added some complexity to our project management back in Germany too. He very quickly became our largest international customer. And so the challenges he put on our table, or the issues that he wanted to have solved by technology, obviously a huge wish list of issues with the paper and pencil approach. So everything you see here is probably going to be very, very straightforward, very common sense. But again, consider what Aakash just said about the sheer number and the magnitude of his projects. It becomes a certain importance. There is, if you run a team with 300 interviewers full time, you do want to have a very efficient process in place. You do want to avoid every click on your tablet, every punch that you can avoid, in order to speed up the process. So he basically, if I may flip backwards just for a minute, he basically approached us with the 3 questions: what are the challenges in achieving standards? How to overcome those? How should the team be managed, data reported and delivered? And then obviously the technology question. So going through this, again, it's a pretty straightforward list. There's doing paper and pencil. As I said, lots of manual processes, data entry, not just during the interview, but also later on when you have to put the results in your computer to have the analysis prepared. And then specifically, looking at the map and at the regional distribution that Aakash showed earlier, data is being collected decentralized and in different regions. Merging that data and still being in control of quotas, for example, is a big issue if you do it manually using paper and pencil. And again, looking at the team size, over counting on quotas with 300 interviewers in place is costing money pretty soon, pretty quickly. So these are some of the challenges in terms of data quality and validation. Also, oh, I forgot one. I'm sorry. It's possible to avoid interviewing the wrong people by putting in logics, validations. So he can make sure with his team that the time of the interviewer is spent very wisely and efficiently, because he can cut it out or he can stop the interview as soon as the system is realizing that person doesn't fit the sample. Same with the quotas I mentioned. And then what's pretty interesting, what was an interesting aspect for us, I mean, Aakash was making sure that he's not doubting the loyalty of his interviewers, but obviously there are some concerns. And so some of the points he put on our table were obviously addressing trust and loyalty issues. And so some of the points coming up on the charts here address checking on the interviewer team. With 300 people out there, obviously there will be some free riders trying to cheat the system. And so you have to put some measures in place to make sure that doesn't happen. One example is stated on the left side here, interviewer tracking by GPS. So you can make sure that the interviewer is moving when he's doing his daily job and not sitting on the beach somewhere. in terms of team management, again, remember the map that Aakash showed, eight different centers where the data is being collected. So that's quite a task to manage the team over that spread out region. And then what was pretty interesting to us, sitting in Germany, so far being focused on the European business mainly, the physical delivery of the questionnaires. So far, I didn't think about how cumbersome it might be to send filled out questionnaires throughout India. Aakash told me that some of his supervisors actually have to travel and take the questionnaires with them in order to make sure that everything's ending up at the main office. Obviously, the quality checks can only take place based on everything that's delivered to the office. So they can only check the answers and try to make sense out of the answers, draw some conclusions. The technology coming in place offers a whole lot of additional data. I mentioned the GPS, but also a whole lot of timestamps, and we can measure the data entry speed, for example, making sure that an interview took actually place. I don't have much time left, let me see that. So, and then I'm going to speak a minute about the technology. And this might be a little bit contrary to what we heard or what we've heard all morning long. Online availability, connectivity, 3G is not available everywhere. And what you see on the right side is the coverage of the different networks in India. So there's not a single one covering the whole country. So transmitting data is usually connected to some kind of roaming expenses. And then it's not only that. It might not be the case for Aakash and his street intercepts, but at least in Germany again, or in Europe, doing mall intercepts sometimes just don't work. Lots of concrete, no network. And again, looking at 300 interviewers, you do not want to have them wait for an online connection and waste their time. Again, online connectivity, big issue. So Aakash was looking specifically for for an offline solution, wrong button. And what happened afterwards is the data packages that was completely in his hands. We couldn't help from Germany figuring out which data package from the Indian internet provider to buy. What we could help with was to give some recommendations concerning the hardware. Again, if you're looking at a major investment for such a big team, investing in tablets is a big investment. So we definitely recommended going on Android devices just for the cheaper costs. And I think that's what they did. They purchased 450 locally sourced tablets from India, which was quite interesting to have them over in Germany again and test run them, at least for engineers.
So, this is something which we have been doing for a little over a year and a half, and I think that was the place when Cluetec came in and sorted out some of the problems for us. We are still working on on ironing out a couple of things with them, which are more of relevance to the quality. In India, the domestic clients come up still with GPS data being available, with interview lengths available. They will come up with a positioning statement of what is the authenticity of the interview being conducted. Has anybody checked it? How things are going to be checked by the supervisor and stuff like that. So we are ironing out we are getting into something which will possibly help us accessing interview data and checking the data again, and that again on the tabs itself. So looking at the way we have moved in the past year and a half, this is what our outlook is. That currently we do about 300,000 interviews using tablets in India. We are looking at doubling the number of interviews within the next year. We are going to move everything, exceptions, on mobile in next year and a half. We currently have about 7 languages, Indian languages available on the software. We, upon client request, we are planning to add another 3 to 4 languages, and ultimately, as Hans said, project monitoring is very important part, and that we are working on improving that. And finally, we kind of keep convincing our clients, everybody present here, that mobile research will help them, and that's going to be the future.
We have 2 minutes left. 1:30. How do we do this?
Leave it.
No? Can we show the video? No, we can't. No, don't worry. Then just, yeah, so no, let's just do the Q&A then. We have a nice video from Market Xcel. We can show it over at our desk over there on the iPad. So if you're interested, just stop by.
Actually, my first question was going to be, first of all, Aakash and Jan, thank you very much. My first question was, if anybody wants to see that running, can they see that running over there?
Yeah.
Right. You can pay me for that question later. Okay, do we have questions for Aakash and Jan?
My first question for Aakash, as an American, I still can't understand how you can stuff 1.2 billion people into a country the size of Indiana and call 69% of them rural. It just doesn't seem to compute. Actually, my question is more about did the data change? So obviously, I don't know, you mentioned you're running a fair amount of tracking studies, and if so, were the changes a result of the technology or the new interviewers? Because you change 2 things at once, and that's a bit of a risky proposition in many cases.
The majority of work, possibly I would say about 90% of the work which we do is non-tracking. And as I mentioned in the end that keeping some exceptions, so possibly the tracking studies come in that exception area of 10%, which will take time to get moved to the tablets and technology.
Hi, I was just interested in...
Kylie, name?
Oh, sorry, Kylie Brosnan from Australia. Just interested in the multi-languages. You mentioned there was 22 languages that you were dealing with. Were the interviewers that you were using fluent in the language that they were working in their area? Or what I'm interested in is, were you able to use the technology to help translate for you? I'm interested because I'm about to embark on a project where my interviewers won't be able to speak the languages that the people we're interviewing will be, but we're hoping an audio translation will assist the process.
To answer your question, I would say that we have a pan-India coverage, and we have teams available on ground in different cities and they are basically situated there, and they can speak that language. When we are programming the questionnaire, then as I mentioned, we have already 7 languages in there. We are planning to add about 4 more languages, so we have got about 50% of it covered. And these are the 7 which have been included in the first phase are the major languages. Possibly out of 7, I think 4 are from down south itself, where the most of the disparity on language part comes in.
And just a technical question, when you're scripting, is there, have you somehow automated the translation, or do you have to script it every time, or have you got that part sorted?
Yes. It's, you only script, you put the logic in place once, and then you translate the labels and import all the languages you want, and that's it.
Still a process in some respect.
Yeah, the translation.
The translation has to happen manually.
Yeah.
That gets checked and then it's imported back onto the survey.
Jan, the example we've had here is from a country and a part of the country where the internet connection wasn't so good and possession of the things. But you run this in a lot of Western companies. So why in countries with a very high mobile penetration, internet penetration, where are people using this sort of technique then?
Like in Germany, for example?
Yeah, I understand it's reasonably civilized.
Well, the biggest portion of our business in Germany is coming from the automotive industry, from prototype testing. So-called car clinics. We are, I think, I don't know, we're pretty big, like for years we've supported car clinics for Volkswagen specifically, got certified for security and data security by them, and they just do not allow any data transmission whatsoever. And when they test the prototype, they do not allow individual smartphones or tablets in the testing area. I told you the story last year in Amsterdam. They asked the people they interview there to take out earrings because cameras might be hidden in there. So in that environment, no data transmission, you need to be working offline. That's one example. That's the one where the biggest part of our revenue is coming from in Germany. There's some smaller parts like trade shows or big events where maybe I'm surprised here it's working well, the Wi-Fi. I remember other conferences over the last year where we were sitting there and waiting for the Twitter line to come up.
It's working here for the people who are living in the Maya, not otherwise.
and so again, same thing as in India. If you have 2 days of a trade show, of a conference, you have 5 people running around and they have to wait for minutes until they can finish their survey, you're wasting money.
More questions for Jan and Aakash? Yeah, you can just wait for the microphone and to be here in one moment.
One comment, to Frank. Frank, yes, there is, just to a matter of fact, our 50% of our tracking is on now CAPI. So yes, there is an impact of migrating from PAPI to CAPI. What we have observed is, we normally calibrate and to avoid trend break. What we have seen that it is because of engagement level. The respondent is far more engaged in this scenario, and that leads to better quality, and then that leads to change in data. So the quality gets improved. Having said that, what we have observed that maybe the absolute number is changed, to some extent, but the rank order largely is same. So it is still easy to migrate. It is not something which is a deterrent factor. One thing, Aakash, you said about saying that why people should go to mobile. When I say mobile, is essentially in a cell-filled format, not in the way you explained, an introvert assisted. And why, when the online research has not been successful in India, and why we think of going mobile, and I think the single most difference here is the reach. The reach, while online is still limited to only 10%, population, whereas here, if you see that, the stat counter figure, the mobile has already crossed the PC internet figure, and moreover, the reach of mobile itself is far more than the PC penetration.
Yes, I said, out of 930 million, which Guy told, about 4% have smartphones.
No, so sorry, we are not saying that smartphones.
So mobile broadband is going to, come and play when you have smartphones. Otherwise, it's going to be, WAP-link or SMSs and
No,
that
WAP-link.
stuff.
So we have tried a couple of pilots using WAP-link. It has worked well. And some of the application, in fact, of now, our partners are developing, including Lumi and WhatsApp, is something. It works perfectly well even on feature phones.
Yeah,
so vendors are working on this, and partners are working. I think parallelly both should exist and see that how we can get traction.
One quick question, then we'll need to move on from the session. How long are the typical interviews that you're doing with this sort of computer-aided personal interview in CAPI, but you're using tablet tapping tablet aided personal interviewing. What's this, a typical length?
It's you can say it's kind of similar the way we do in PAPI. So 30? Yeah, maybe like 30 minutes on an average.
Yeah. So I think we need an Indian working group to look at some of these issues, but I think that probably answers, because if we were going down the WAPI route, some of the SMS routes, we couldn't look at the 30-minute survey. So I think lots of different complementary things. I had said we're moving on, Stephen, but you have been very good all day, so.
Yeah, just Aakash, just Stephen Jenke from Kantar. I mean, one of the biggest problems we've got in India is the cost of doing fieldwork and investment required to go using technology. How are you handling that issue? Because for me, that's the biggest issue. Clients aren't willing to pay for the extra investment.
If you talk about the approach we take, which is usually taken, is that when you are doing PAPI, you have to get the questionnaire printed, you have to courier them back to the head office, and then stuff like that. So whatever we are doing is, we are not, as on date. We are not going to the clients and we are telling them that this will result in increase in cost anyhow, because we are utilizing the same cost components from there and move them to, using technology.
Okay, so thank you very much, Jan and Aakash, for showing us a very different perspective.
Thank you.